Hello and welcome to Categories Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.categories.com. My name is Jason JROCK Houston, and I'm speaking with lead singer Joshua Strickland from the band the Bayou Bandits. How you doing today, Joshua?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and like I said, we're talking to you because the band has a new single out called Gasoline, and it's really the only thing I've heard from a band because it was your publicist Dave that kind of made me aware of the band. I was checking out the new single. To me, it kind of sounds like what I'd called Southern hard rock. I don't know if you think that's a fair description.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. We are from the Bayou country, right outside of New Orleans, a small town called Walker, in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And so, we've got Southern rock and music that we like, and is
again,
some folks have called it swamp metal.
That's what I was almost going to say. It's a kind of my ears. I would call it either kind of swamp metal, hard rock, southern fried hard rock, and the thing that I had trouble kind of coming up with the description is when you listen to most bands, and to be fair, I've just heard the one song. You try to think, who do these guys sound like? And I can honestly say that this is a fair description. It sounds like nothing I've ever heard before. You guys have a great original sound, and that is why with just this one song you guys have hooked me. It's like I can't wait to hear what the next song is that this band puts out.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate that. We really do. Lord knows we've put our nose to the grindstone and just really hustled. Nobody ever gave us nothing, so it's been a challenge.
Wow. And so let's talk a little bit about how long the band has been together and all that.
Absolutely. So really the band has been going full steam with making our own music for about 2 years.
Oh wow. And
so that's just rocking out.
This is like the first, I guess, real single you guys have put out, or have you put out other songs?
Can you say that again? I think we lost connection.
Oh, I was saying, with this Gasoline, is this the first single you've put out, or you put out other songs before?
No, so we've put out a like an EP.
Okay.
And then we did an acoustic record of some of those original songs. And so our very first single was a song called "Take Me Back,"
wow.
which gathered the attention of some of the guys that wrote the soundtrack for a show called True Blood.
Oh wow, okay.
And so we got to jam with them, and that really
wow
out here in this region. And then really Gasoline was just something that we came up with, that we said, hey, it's time to release something new, kind of tease them a little bit, for the next record or EP, and kind of go from there. So that's how that all.
I mean, I love hearing that story already because some of my favorite bands, like when I was growing up, bands like Kiss and Deep Purple and that, they put out like 2 albums a year back in the day. And I mean, you guys have only been together 2 years. You already got like a release out every year you've been out. So that's pretty cool that you've already got that much music out.
Yeah. And like I said, it's whenever you're an independent band,
you can do that.
We don't have big labels backing us.
Yeah.
You have to save money to finance the recording, and so that's what we did, and luckily we've had enough folks kind of believe in us and say, hey, we support y'all,
Yeah,
so it's cool.
And I guess because of the area you guys are from, the Bayou Bandits, that's a perfect name for the band. It really says who and what you are, and let's talk about being a singer, Josh. I mean, do you play any instruments, or have you just always been a singer, always wanted to be a singer?
No, so I actually am a guitar player as well. So
okay.
Guitar, I play rhythm, and then I also play harmonica. So like, when folks say, "Oh, harmonica," I definitely ain't no Bob Dylan on harmonica. I'm a blues harp player. I like to play dirty, nasty blues harmonica. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, people may not even realize or remember that even Steven Tyler from Aerosmith is a harmonica player, on some of what he does, and even Tyler started out as a drummer, not even a singer. But that's why I was asking. A lot of people, they start out as guitar players and then kind of just out of necessity become singers. I even heard the story about Dave Mustaine from Megadeth. When he got kicked out of Metallica and formed Megadeth, he wanted to originally have a different singer, but he just, to his mind, couldn't find anybody who could sing his songs that he was writing the way he wanted them to be, sung. And his manager said, "Hey, Dave, why don't you just try and sing the stuff yourself?"
Yeah, no, I grew up singing in the church, and
wow.
I always wanted to be a guitar. So I always played guitar and I always sang. But growing up in the Deep South, you got a whole influx of music. I mean, Louisiana, you're born into a music culture, and so I grew up listening to blues harp players and washboards and ragtime type music, Zydeco, blues, gospel, country, all of it just mixed into one.
Yeah, I bet if I was to ask you some of your influences there, they'd be names I probably never even heard of.
Oh man, Dr. John.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's obvious, yeah.
So I love Dr. John, Tab Benoit.
Yeah.
Even though she's a transplant, she's really assimilated to the culture. Samantha Fish.
Wow.
Aaron Neville. One of the modern guys that I love is Whiskey Myers. I love Whiskey Myers. I obviously love Skynyrd, Marshall Tucker, all of them.
Now Skynyrd is an interesting band because, I mean, if you go back and you listen to all the stuff the original band did, it's great. But one thing that's always kind of interested me about Lynyrd Skynyrd, especially since the guys died in the plane crash, the way the band was able to kind of carry on all these years, and I guess just over the last couple of years they decided to finally go on their final farewell tour. But I mean, it's become one of those things where kind of even as guys die in the band, other guys kind of come in and take their place, and it's like
exactly. That's like a lot of those old
traditional,
Motown
bands.
Like they still got the Temptations, doing casino shows.
They only got one original member, but still alive.
One original member, but it's still the Temptations. Or all those types.
And even when I seen that movie they did on the Temptations, a number of years ago, and I seen that if there's only one original member, I thought, man, I have a lot of respect for that guy keeping it going. I mean, he doesn't have to be doing it. I mean, he's probably got enough money that he could retire, but he enjoys what he does and he's keeping it going.
Oh yeah, but I tell you what, speaking of the Temptations, I love David Ruffin.
Yeah. Even
he's got a great voice.
And even another band. Oh, David Ruffin. Yeah, he was one of my. He's the one that did Ain't Too Proud to Beg and all.
Man, he's got a voice.
Yeah, I mean, great. What a loss that was when he died. And
absolutely.
And another one is those bands kind of had that kind of legacy is the rock band Foghat. The only original guy still in the band is the drummer Roger Earl. Super cool guy. I've had a chance to talk to him a few times over the years. Super cool guy. But I mean, again, that's another band. They just get kind of new guys to come in and do, and the songs are almost all those great Foghat songs are. They've just got such a legacy that the songs are almost more important than who's in the band.
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, hell, there's, it's you hear some of these songs and you're like, oh man, you know every single word to that song, but you don't even know who the band is that's singing it. It's because the song is so iconic and bigger than the rest of the band.
Yeah.
That it never dies.
I mean, you even take a band like Metallica or AC/DC. Like in Metallica's case, the song like Inner Sandman. Even if you're just a casual Metallica fan, everybody knows that song. I mean, I've heard James Hetfield say that's probably the riff that he gets the most tired of playing, but it's a riff that pays. Everybody knows it.
And it's like White Stripes.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you hear Seven Nation Army, everybody knows Seven Nation Army.
And another band that's kind of like that to me is AC/DC. I mean, you listen to any AC/DC, it's the same three-chord pattern, but you know what? Only AC/DC can get away with that. And
exactly.
And sadly, when it looked like the band was on its last leg when Malcolm Young died a few years ago. They put out another great album, and they're keeping it going. So again, you gotta love bands like that are doing what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And let's get talking about your band, the Bayou Bandits, again. Now, I'd imagine talking a little bit about your band and the power of the internet. You must get people messaging you every day about the band and how great they think your band is, and you're getting messages, I bet, from parts of the world that you haven't even stepped foot in. And if you stop and think, somebody's listened to, my band's music across the ocean in part of the world I haven't even stepped foot in. That's got to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's great. So it's great. It's great, and it's also bad at the same time.
Yeah.
The reason being is because we've developed a lot of fans. Like you said, across the world. I mean, we've gotten messages from Germany, England, Philippines, Mexico, Canada, all over. And I have never been to Saskatchewan, Canada, ever in my life. I'm a Louisiana boy.
Wow.
And the fact that somebody up in Saskatchewan, Canada, has heard our songs is amazing. But hindsight is it makes listening to music a lot easier, but it makes the days of having your own private jet flying across the world like Leonard Skinner, because my kids don't even know what a CD player looks like, much less a cassette tape or an 8-track or anything like that. So nobody buys CDs. They stream it.
I understand that. I mean, very much like you, Josh, I'm an old school guy. Because I did grow up, I did grow up when LPs were big, and they still had cassettes. And I mean, I see like even Rat Pack Records and some of these smaller labels, they're releasing stuff, if you can believe it or not, on cassettes. They're starting to do that again. Vinyl in the last 5 years has made a huge comeback. And
vinyl, absolutely, but vinyl's so expensive. Vinyl is like to get vinyl made. Like for yourself. Yeah. I've seen a lot of bands do like Kickstarter or crowdfunding type stuff, to sponsor that, because I think just for 50 units is like almost $3,000.
Yeah, that's why they do like limited runs now. And the thing why that's so expensive, I understand, is they have like only 2 factories in the whole United States or something that does it, and so it's the whole thing as far as getting it scheduled to be released and that. But I do understand vinyl's making a comeback, because as expensive as it is, it's one way the bands are actually able to break even a little bit, because like even though it costs a fan to maybe buy $25, $35 for vinyl, because the vinyl costs so much, the bands are making a little more money off that than they were even 10 years ago.
And I see a lot of people doing the lace cutting.
Yeah. And
so that's a little bit of a cheaper route.
And the thing with the vinyl too that I like is, you're able to. They make like special packages. Like it's not just a typical CD. You get like a double album gatefold, like something like Kiss Alive or that, like they did back in the day. They got limited runs, so you're getting something special that's not going to always be available. Becomes more of a collector's item. I did grow up in the day. I miss going to the record store and spending all day in there deciding what I'm going to buy. See, like you said, kids are missing that experience.
Oh man, yeah. I think I have probably every Elvis Presley record, vinyl record, known to man. And so, because I love Elvis, and so that was, my daddy was a big Elvis fan, and so growing up, I'd be singing Elvis all around,
And see, that's got to be an interesting thing too for the music you're creating with your band, because just talking to you, I'm willing to bet that you bring some of that Elvis influence into to the band's music.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of folks ask me,
like
you get your, influences from, and dude, I listen to everybody. I mean, I love the King, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But like just the other day, me and my son, I took him to a System of a Down concert.
Oh, wow.
Because
Yeah.
he's old enough now to really appreciate, a good rock show. And I love System of a Down. I love Elvis Presley. But then, I also love Big Mama Thornton, the original singer of Hound Dog. I love Howlin' Wolf. I love... I like gospel music. Everybody always asks singers and musicians, well, what's your most favorite song, most favorite thing,
Yeah.
And, it's really hard to pinpoint, but if I've always said the exact same answer over the years, and you'd be surprised with the kind of music that we play. My most favorite song of all time is actually an Elvis Presley song, and it's one of his gospel renditions of Peace in the Valley. Yeah,
well, talking about being an Elvis fan, you might know this then, but a lot of people are surprised to learn, as was I. Have you ever heard of the band Montrose? Sammy Hagar did this album with this band, guitar player Ronnie Montrose back in 1973. And,
no, I've never heard.
Well, anyways, they covered, Sammy Hagar, of course, great solo artist. He was in Van Halen, and they had the song "Good Rockin' Tonight" on the album. Come to find out.
I heard news there's a good rockin' tonight.
Yeah, come to find out, that's an Elvis Presley tune.
Absolutely, "Good Rockin' Tonight." That was one of his first.
Yeah, and I thought, wow, I can't believe Sammy Hagar did an Elvis tune, but
oh man, dude, Elvis
is king. That's why
he was a great singer, but I mean, he expanded. Not expanded. He transcended.
Rock music. I mean,
all walks of life. I mean, he
even did gospel.
Blues, gospel, country.
Yeah. He did gospel. He did country. He wasn't afraid to kind of go outside of the box. And I think that's why. And that's why I think in listening to your music, that's probably why, finding out that you're influenced by all these different types of artists, that the music does have kind of an original sound. Doesn't sound like everything else because of the simple fact you put all your influences together and into this big music box, and it kind of sounds like nothing people have really heard before.
And then we get a lot of compliments, but I'll tell you that really makes me feel good that you say that, and it means a lot because the thing about it is, I don't try to be nobody that I'm not. I'm a Louisiana boy, and I grew up in a musical culture. I don't want to just be labeled country. I don't want to just be labeled
hard rock. Well,
whatever,
even I dig hearing that you took your son to a System of a Down concert. I mean, that's cool. Again, that shows me like you're into everything. I mean, when I go to a rock show, I want to be entertained too. I mean, I'd much rather go see like Alice Cooper or Kiss and five guys in jeans and t-shirts and just strumming their guitar,
and that's the thing. Like, the Toxicity record was one of my all-time favorite records. But then I tell people in my top 5 favorite bands that like you go to my truck and you put on like Bluetooth, whatever.
Yeah.
What's gonna come up first is Dave Matthews.
Wow.
I love Dave Matthews. A lot of people are like, "Wow, dude, you're going from Dave Matthews to System of a Down to, gospel music," and it's like, well, stop and think about it.
Yeah.
Dave Matthews, he has one of the most eclectic of musicians. I mean, saxophone, world-class drummer. I mean, he's a world-class guitar player. It's just you take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that's how you develop what you want. And that's why we get a lot of props, is because folks say, "Damn, you got this kid out here playing a blues harp to a rock beat."
Yeah.
And then I pull out a washboard, that I have electrified, and they're like, "What the heck is going on?" It's like it's the Bayou Bandits.
Yeah. I'm not a diehard, let's say, Howlin' Wolf fan, but I tell you, I dig the fact that you're into stuff like that and you're turning these kids on that are checking your band out, because anybody that's ever heard anything like by Howlin' Wolf, it's like nothing you ever heard, but yet it's like, man, okay, yeah, I could see why you'd be influenced by that guy, and it's cool that you're turning kids of this generation onto music from back then, you know?
Well, the thing about it is you have singers of today, okay, and you know, you listen to it, and not one real instrument was being played on the stage. It was all made off of a iPad or a MacBook, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you put on somebody like Etta James or Howlin' Wolf or Whiskey Myers.
Yeah.
And you listen to them sing, and you can feel what they're singing. They're they believe in what they're saying. You know, they believe in what they're singing, and that's what I try to convey. Is because everything that I've ever written is all stuff that I've lived.
See,
you know,
that's what I was going to say. But I believe the best songwriters ever are the ones that you listen to the songs, and it's like, this sounds like this is a page out of this guy's life. You know, he's lived through this. It's not something he just sat down and wrote, you know, about what happened in the back seat of his car. He's actually lived this. You can feel his pain.
And if you go into our catalog, we got Kandahar, which has been all over the country. I mean, a bunch of military organizations have been using it. I wrote that song about one of my buddies who unfortunately committed suicide.
Wow.
And, whenever we got back from Afghanistan, we were stationed in Kandahar together. Well, it resonates with everybody because, you know, it's from a soldier. It's not like Toby Keith or Trace Adkins, you know, both guys that I love, that are just talking about putting on the boots and, you know, it's from somebody who was there.
And now I imagine, you know, when you go through something like that, losing a friend like that, it is quite an experience. And a lot of veterans, you know, we know go through post-traumatic stress, and they some people do commit suicide. I was just kind of curious, how surprised were you when you heard your buddy had taken his own life? I mean, somebody you ever thought that he was depressed, or did you have any clue that he was?
No, matter of fact, he was the funniest guy in the world.
See, a lot of times, yeah.
And I credit him to being one of the reasons that I'm still alive. I mean, he was an airborne infantryman, Ranger qualified.
Wow.
He had been over there more times than I could count.
Wow, you just never know. Hey, wow.
You know, not all wounds are visible. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, going through stuff like that is, you know, it's not what would be considered a normal thing. War is not normal.
No,
you know?
yeah. Stuff you live through, but you never think you're gonna.
Folks handle their demons in different ways, you know. But on the first record that we put out, there is a special tribute to him on the inside flap, which is a picture of me and him inside of a bunker over there in Afghanistan.
How cool is that? So let me ask Josh, when you were over in Afghanistan and that, I don't imagine you had as much time writing songs and stuff, but had you been in any bands or done any of your songwriting before that, or afterwards?
I did some before.
Okay.
And then I did, you know, a majority of it afterwards, but some of it before. I mean, it's just, you know, like with me, you know, you have. I wanted to kind of live through. You know, I wrote about my experiences in life.
Yeah.
That was an experience. You know, I grew up. You know, I saw the world from a completely different view.
Became a man, so to speak, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was, you know, because a lot of folks don't realize, you know, I'm still in my 20s.
Wow.
At my late part of my 20s, and it's like, you know, I can't believe. I don't believe a song talking about riding a skateboard.
Yeah. You've seen a lot more things that guys your age. Most guys your age have seen, and I'd imagine, you know, having your band and the music keep you busy. That's maybe helped to keep you from you know, doing anything like that or getting depressed.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, music is my therapy.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I'm having off days, whether I'm on stage in front of 5,000 people or just me by myself. I pull out a guitar and start singing, you know, because a lot of folks are like, well, you know, why are you a singer? Do you do it for the fans and all that? Yeah, of course. I mean, we love fans. We love having fans listen to our music, and, you know, we love the fact that, you know, each person can take a song and turn it to where
they are in life.
It fits them. You know? But I play music for me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I do it because of the way it makes me feel. You know, I'm at peace, you know?
Yeah. In fact, you kind of just made this point, but I'd imagine as a songwriter, that's got to be a great feeling when you know what you wrote the song about, but somebody comes up to you after a show and says, you know, Josh, I really dig this song you guys do that you wrote, and it really touches my heart, or it makes me think of, you know, my father, my mother who passed away or something, and you're like, well, that's not what I wrote about, but man, if that's what it means to you, that's great.
You know, I've had people send messages saying that Kandahar saved their life, you know, that song, because it was like they could relate to the person that wrote it.
Yeah.
And you know, I love Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20.
Okay.
And I think Rob Thomas is one of the greatest songwriters ever, because he writes all of his own songs.
Yeah.
And so I went to one of his concerts one time, and he said, you know, that song 3 a.m. was written about my mother who was suffering from cancer.
Wow.
And I said, dude, I didn't say it to him, but I was thinking to myself, I was like, dude, I would have never guessed that. Because 3 a.m., you know, it can be about anything you want it to be. And that's the beauty of music.
Yeah, and music, like you said, for a lot of people, it's a great way. It's a great therapy. I know a lot of times when I'm feeling down, if I'm listening to music, it makes me feel better. Or if just going to see a live rock concert, kind of get in a mood, you know. It's a great therapy for people, and it's a great way. I think music is one way. It's a great power. Has a great power to bring people together. You know.
Absolutely.
And you know, just to kind of wrap this up, I want to get your opinion on I wouldn't be surprised. I want to get your opinion on a musician like Dave Grohl, because, you know, for a lot of people like me, I mean, he was a great drummer in Nirvana, but when he put together with Foo Fighters, and you find out not only is the guy a great drummer, he's a great frontman, a great songwriter, a great lead singer. This cat can do it all.
Well, and I think Dave Grohl's a great person. I mean, some of the stuff that he talks about. I mean, I know I was reading. I'm a pretty avid reader.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was reading last about him was about his mama as a school teacher, and so you know, he's all about teachers, and you know, he's apparently a pretty down to earth type of person.
Yeah, seems like it.
And I mean, you know, it's like you said, to caveat all of the great musicianship about him, you know, he's a real dude.
And I think,
you know, and it's like a lot of folks, they look at folks like Dave Grohl as a superstar, you know, untouchable, you know, almighty. But the truth is, you know, he goes through McDonald's drive-through just like all of us do. I mean, you know,
to me, he's got an interesting perspective as a musician. As a fan, I could only dream of being able to do what he does musically. But it's kind of interesting, because, I mean, when Kurt Cobain killed himself, you know, I mean, if they would have tried to keep Nirvana together and he's going to take over as the lead singer, I don't think fans would have been accepting. He totally kind of reinvented himself, and I think he was almost, you know, he was almost forced to. But you kind of see, again, this guy is a lot more capable than people ever thought he was.
Well, exactly, and that's what I tell everybody, because when I'm not on stage, I'm actually an RN.
Yeah.
And so I wrote this song called Nurse's Story, which was an acoustic thing about what I had been seeing right when COVID had broken out, because I was out there.
Yeah.
And you know, people are like, "Oh, you're a nurse and a singer?" You know, and I say, "No, I'm a singer that just so happens to be a nurse."
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of like Dave Grohl. I mean, before he's a frontman, before he's a guitar player, before he's a singer, he's a musician, you know, and sometimes it's just in you to pick something up and play it.
I'm glad. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to say, your publicist, Dave, I must have misunderstood. I thought he said that you were an EMT, but a nurse. I mean, what a wonderful...
Yeah, I'm a registered nurse.
What a wonderful thing to kind of, do career-wise. Is that something you kind of fell in accidentally, or is that something you always wanted to do?
Oh, I fell in 100% accidentally.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people.
But it's rewarding. I mean, it's great. I love helping people. I would have never thought...
Yeah.
Especially whenever I was younger as a soldier, that I would have ever became an RN, but I did, and I'm grateful. It's a great career path.
Good for you to have something to fall back on, because a lot of people don't, and I mean, it's kind of interesting story because you're getting to do something positive with your life. You're helping people, and that's got to feel good. And then on the weekends, you do the band thing, and you go out and do your shows, and you record your music. You're living like kind of two separate lives, but it's cool.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I can always. It's not something I'm not the most proud of, unfortunately, because the patient wound up passing away. But I've had to do CPR before shows.
I mean, that's
people.
Wow. That's life. That's maybe, but again, even if somebody dies, you're doing everything in your power to kind of keep that person alive, and it's not necessarily your fault that they don't make it. Just
exactly. Exactly.
And I'd imagine with all this COVID stuff, you even kind of being a nurse and all, probably have experienced things and seen things with people and having to deal with people that you never thought you'd live to have to experience.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, it's funny. Like even in everyday life now, like I was in the bank the other day, and some lady just randomly a customer walks up to the security guard in the bank and tells him, "Oh, sir, I just want you to know that I'm a good person. I'm wearing my mask." And he's like, "Well, thank you, ma'am, for feeling the need to tell me. Keep it up, But I'd imagine with COVID, though, you've experienced all kinds of things.
Yeah. Life is fragile. You got to enjoy every minute.
And with all this COVID stuff and the lockdowns and restrictions, have you, what's been your experience like when you've encountered some of these patients? Have you had pretty much a positive kind of experience?
Well, it's interesting. We're definitely worked hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks, especially depending on, how COVID-19, affects
them,
affects their body. Sometimes it's, people pull through, sometimes people don't. And it's definitely been interesting to see it, like on that aspect, because a lot of folks had to grow up, especially a lot of younger nurses, they wasn't, used to seeing such, so much death.
Oh yeah.
And so much, sickness, and it's been interesting.
And I'd imagine too, like when COVID first hit and we're going through all this, at first there's a huge appreciation for what they call first responders, EMTs, nurses. But have you think that's kind of gone down like in the recent months?
Absolutely.
And you're really feeling, and it's kind of, you're at the two opposite poles, because like I'd imagine beginning of COVID, as far as going and doing the music thing and playing live shows, that was quite difficult for a while. Now it's starting to come.
It still is. It still is, but
yeah.
We all do what we got to do,
So Josh, I really enjoyed talking to you today, and like I said, the interview will be getting posted probably in about a week or two. I'll let Dave know as soon as it posts, and at that point, you're more than welcome to post on any of your sites. Do you want to let people know where they can find you online?
Hey, thank you so much for your time, Jason. I really appreciate it, and it was a joy talking to you.
Okay, take care, my friend. We'll talk to you again down the line. Maybe we can do it again.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
JROCK Riffs Magazine.